I'm Chloe Lim.
And I'm Nathan Serrano.
And we'll be reporting about the top 10 musical forms and styles during classical period. Classical music is generally a music that is written down, with some notable exception, that is intended in a concert setting, such as this.
Now let's get to the point. First, we have aria or ternary aria. For those who don't know what aria is, it is a self-contained piece for one voice with or without instrumental or orchestral accompaniment, which is also known as a solo song, since one voice can stand alone, with or without some instrumental music. Aria is mostly sung in a high note and mostly seen in operas. The next one is cadenza. Is a chance for the soloist to show off by herself during a concerto. This happens when all musicians in an orchestra stops playing, leaving the soloist to play alone. The third one, we have concerto. A concerto pits a soloist against the whole orchestra, which means that the main spotlight is on the soloist while the others are just accompanying it. Now for the fourth, we have chamber music. Chamber music features a small group of instrumentalists. There is no conductor for chamber music, as the players are expected to work it out by themselves. So chamber music is like an orchestra, but it only contains few musicians. I said they don't need a conductor since they are small group, unlike in an orchestra. Next one is movement. It is a self-contained part of a musical composition or musical form. Most works are broken up into movements. The common pace of each movement is fast, slow, fast, like in a sonata or symphony. Movements is about how fast and how slow the music being played or should be played. And of course, there's always a break after each movement so that during a performance, the players can take their short time by retuning some of their instrument and getting ready for the next.
We have it is a composition for a solo instrument, and if it's not for the piano, then it's usually accompanied by the piano. It means that the solo instrument will be played with a keyboard or a piano playing too. And as you can see, there's so many notes here and it usually contains 3 to 4. The next one will probably be more easier to explain, which is the opera. Performers enacting dramatic plots via their singing, either big melodies or semi-song, or spoken moments of dialogue called recitative. Of course, costumes, sets, staging, and a full orchestra are involved. It's like they're singing at the same time acting, with the full orchestra playing. For the eighth one, we have an opus. An opus is a working number assigned to a classical work or a set of works to group the chronological order of the composer's works. So this basically means that an opus number tells whether the piece was made earlier or recent. Though, despite how simple it might sound, during classical period, the function of opus numbers were a little bit more complex, such as the other composers' works were not always in order. But of course, using opus numbers can still tell us that each pieces are different from apart. Now at the number 9 we have an overture. Like in the 17th century, the overture served as a love gong to signal audience to take their seats. The root word of overture means open or an opening, meaning overture is a musical piece used for an orchestral introduction to a musical work. This is also an independent instrumental work. Now, for the last, we have the orchestra, symphony, and the philharmonic. Now, like on the reference we used, every symphony is an orchestra, but not every orchestra is a symphony. Likewise, every philharmonic is a symphony, but not every symphony is a philharmonic. First of all, an orchestra is a general term of an ensemble, featuring musicians or instrumentalists. There are two basic orchestras: the chamber orchestra, which was already discussed on the chamber music part, and then the symphony orchestra. Before I discuss on what the symphony orchestra is all about, a symphony is basically a musical composition made for the full orchestra, and usually contains 4 movements. Also, a symphony is said that it usually requires 18 to 25 different instruments. So if an orchestra is big enough to play a symphony, then boom, it's a symphony orchestra. Basically, a symphony orchestra is a large group of musicians compared to chamber orchestra. And it is divided into 4 sections, which are the percussion, woodwinds, brass, and string instruments. Let's get to the last part of the topic, which is the philharmonic. Philharmonic means music loving, and as you may notice, a philharmonic orchestra and a symphony orchestra looks basically the same, kind of. They have the same size, same music, but different in meanings. As you can see, philharmonic is most often used when there's more than one large group in one city. For example, Brooklyn. In Brooklyn, there are 2 groups of orchestra called the Brooklyn Symphony Orchestra and the Brooklyn Philharmonic Orchestra. They are just the same. The only difference is their matter of identity. Oh, and I almost forgot. A philharmonic is mostly used, especially in the name of a certain musical societies that sponsors symphony orchestras and hence apply to their concert. They sponsor symphony orchestras and apply it to their concert. Right? That was our top 10 classical music styles and forms,
which are consist of opera, cadenza, concerto, chamber music movement,
sonata, aria, opus, overture, orchestra, symphony, and philharmonic. That's all. Thank you for listening.
Bye. God bless.